Okay, welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting of November 20th, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, so just very briefly want to make the community aware that this weekend we received a resignation from Richard Schofield from the Board of Selectmen. And so just want to thank Rich for his service. I know there were some personal reasons for him not being able to continue to serve, but he has served Mendon well, and we thank him and wish him luck. So just wanted to mention that. First order of business here, citizen statements and petitions. Correspondence to the board. Consider the request of Mendon Historical Society for items.
So I move to approve the request of the Mendon Historical Society to take items per the list outlined in their correspondence dated 11/9/2019.
Step down in second. Just reviewing this here. This is just moving some things from the library.
Right, so they
Old
had-
library.
Right, so they had gone over to the top of the library and had sort of surveyed what was there. They put together this comprehensive list with photos of the things that they would like to go to the Historical Society. I had the opportunity to go over there the other day to look at the space that we'll need for the police station trailer. I think I'm fine with any of these things. I think that's an appropriate location. I just would add the caveat that they need to be out by the middle of December in order to accommodate for the potential space, well, sorry, the things that need to be done to the space in order to accommodate for the project to begin on the police station.
Okay.
So whatever they would like to have, they need to have out by December 15th? Okay. Good.
Okay.
I'm sure that they're anxious for the stuff, so I can't see any reason why. It doesn't look like there's anything big that.
Right.
The only thing is like the chandelier. I mean,
Well,
taking that down.
Well, I will say, in case of delay on this, we're, for the police station project, we're only anticipating using the very front section of the library, which has its own entrance. So if they weren't able to get the larger lighting pieces out,
Yeah, those shouldn't be in the way.
most of those items could be temporarily moved to where the file locations are. So that would not be an issue. So if they needed more time for the electrical pieces on that side, it wouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Passing over that. Passing over the easement issue. Chris, the easement issue we're going to pass over, but we discussed with Cindy before she left that there's nothing we can do until after town meeting with that.
Okay.
So there's no action there.
Okay.
Consider agreement to move the OPM for the police station project from Daedalus Projects to Central Mass Projects.
So I move to sign the agreement to move the OPM for the police station project from Daedalus Projects to Central Mass Projects.
Step down in second. Discussion. Don?
So essentially, the current OPM left her prior company, Daedalus Projects, and they authored this document to allow her to take the project to her new company. So terms and the existing contract all stay in place, and we're the same OPM. It's just she's changing from one company to another. So we need you to approve and sign the document from Daedalus, allowing them to transfer it to Central Mass Projects.
And that's the only thing that needs to be done, is just a document that needs to be signed, and that's it? Or
I'm sorry?
only a document needs to be signed to transfer?
That one
that's it?
document needs to be signed. Basically, the document says we're going to honor the existing contract that says Daedalus Projects. Cindy has looked at it as well from town council, and she did earlier today, so she's okay with it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, consider appointment of Mike Goddard to Historical Commission.
So I move to appoint Mike Goddard to the Historical Commission for a term to expire 6/30/2021, I'm sorry.
Step down and second. Did this go through our policy process?
He submitted, we sent the letters for reappointment, September, I believe. September.
Reappointment's done in June.
Well, when we sent the letter, we didn't get a response back to see if he wanted to be reappointed. I think at the
Okay.
time, he was trying to debate whether or not he was going to continue on. He feels that he wants to continue. He's a previous member of this board. They had submitted the recommendation initially that he be appointed to the board at that time, so that's the cause for the delay. I spoke with him myself a few days ago, and he would like to participate.
Okay.
I don't think there'd be any reason why I would need to interview Mr.
No,
Goddard.
no, I'm not, I'm just saying if there was an opening, it was their process, but that's fine. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Consider appointment of Mike Goddard to Community Preservation Committee.
So I move to appoint Mike Goddard to the Community Preservation Committee for a term to expire 6/30/2021.
Step down and second. So this, he served as their Historical Commission representative previous.
Yes, he did, I think he did.
Okay.
And this will fill that.
There was someone in between, I thought, but yes,
I think at one time he was. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consider reappointment of Barry Iadarola to the Community Preservation Committee as Planning Board Representative.
So I move to reappoint Barry Iadarola to the Community Preservation Committee as a Planning Board Representative for a term to expire 6/30/2021.
Step down and second. He was, what,
reappointment.
Yes, he got missed.
okay.
back in June.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's it.
Go and table the other things.
Well, we're not doing the contracts, obviously. And because we haven't settled the contracts, we're waiting on the COLA for non-contractual employees. So, the next item is joint meeting with FinCom to discuss police station building funding options. But they're not,
So the FinCom is actually not posted to...
Till 7.
Till 7, and that, their meeting is primarily to review the articles on the warrant. So I've spoken with both Mike Morale, who plans to be here about 6:30, and the members of the Police Station Building Committee, and I had told them 6:30. So, I mean, we could begin having conversations, or we could wait 10 minutes and see if people arrive and then start a conversation then.
well, the building committee, I mean, Don, you're the only one here for that, so I think we should,
Might be one or two others showing, but that's about it.
Right.
Okay.
So, and again, FinCom isn't posted till 7, but obviously, as long as they are not
Well, let's wait
deliberating,
till
they can be part
6:30.
of a discussion individually about what's occurring.
you said Mike
They
will
got- I
be
told
here
him
6:30?
this afternoon, and then I know they're posted for 7, so I just assumed we'd take a little longer on the agenda. So if we want to adjourn till then.
Okay, we'll take a recess till 6:30. Throw that wrench in there for you. Don, you want to come
Yeah.
up? FinCom, Building Committee. You should grab a mic.
No, it's related.
That was the last page.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
Let's share.
so we are here to talk about the police station building funding options, and Kim is going to start us off.
Okay, thank you all for coming back. It's been a week or two since we met last time to discuss this. Yesterday, the bids were open for the police station project, so now we are here to talk about what our approach is going to be at town meeting next week, and to make sure that we all understand what our funding options are and what we think is best moving forward for the community for the project. I will let Don speak to the numbers when he comes back to the table. Actually, before you even say what the numbers are, I want to talk a little bit about what we were talking about in concept at the last meeting, which is that we can't award the bids without funding being appropriated. Right now, we only have $5 million appropriated. All of the bids are over $5 million. So technically, if we don't approve something at town meeting next week, we cannot award a bid. Okay? So we had talked about different types of strategies in order to cover whatever the overage would be, and now we have actual numbers, so we can talk about what that will be in actual.
Okay, so what you have in front of you is essentially, we received 8 bids for the general contractor. They're sorted lowest to highest based on the base bid. When we met last time, we told you we went out to bid for a base project with 4 alternates: a Sallyport, demo of the police station, finished paving of the parking lot. Oh, did they not have a copy?
I made it.
Okay. Finishing the second level of the addition. So if you notice, the first contractor is Tower Construction Corporation. Their base bid was 4.697 million, and then the 4 alternates are listed there: 275K, 190, 27, and then 250K. So then if you read across to the right, if we decide to do the base plus the first alternate, that's the first price, 4,972. The base plus the first and second alternate, base plus the first 3 alternates, or the base and all 4 alternates would be a grand total of 5,439. This is just the construction costs. There's an additional $908,000 for soft costs for the architect and the OPM, and there's a 5% contingency. Kim has those numbers on a different sheet.
What's that number again?
I'm sorry?
What was that additional number?
908,000. If you look at the bottom row, the last row is the cost estimate that we received from the cost estimator that worked for the architect, Mayakota Consulting. If you look at their estimate, 4.8 was their estimate for the base. So this bid, we actually came in at 4.7. They're the only ones that really were pretty much in line with what we expected. And then as you read across, you'll see the others. So the discussion tonight, we met last night to look over this, and I'll turn it over to Kim just to explain the numbers and the funding gap. But this shows you that we have one bid that's pretty much in line with what we were hoping. And the rest, the second bid was, number 2 was almost $600,000 higher. So we're lucky for that one bid. Otherwise, we'd be in a major issue right now.
So last night, the Police Station Building Committee voted that in addition to the base bid, they felt that alternate 1 for the Sallyport was necessary for moving the project forward. So the minimum cost that we need for the project is $5.88 million. So the funding gap that we have right now is $880,000.
Yeah, so we looked at the 4 alternates. So the alternate number 4 is finishing out the second floor fit out. We've already been in contact with Blackstone Valley Regional Tech to do that work. The second and third alternates, demoing the existing station, and then paving, the finishing of the paving of the lot. We felt that was something that, yes, we would love to do it, but in affordability, that's something we could do a little bit later and maybe bid out separately and maybe have some cost savings. We've actually had one person approach to help with the demo of the police station already, so we figured we could probably make those other two work sometime down the road. But from the Sally Point standpoint, this is really more of a issue of safety and liability for the town. We don't have a Sally Port now. We really, and if you don't do it now with the GC, it'll cost us probably a heck of a lot more trying to do it later. So that's why the rationale, excuse me, that we came up last night was to go forward and award the contract to the GC for the base bid plus the first alternate. Excuse me, which if you read across to the top, it comes out to 4,972 for the general contractor. Add on top of that, the 900,000 we were talking about for the architect, OPM, contingency, stuff like that. That gives us the 5.88 million, which is what we're looking for to award this contract.
So we need 5.8 to award the contract next week. The total that we need for this project, as it was bid, is 6.4. So my recommendation, based upon what we talked about funding last time, would be to go to the floor next week and ask for this additional 880, to be able to borrow this 880, but the ultimate goal would be to come back in May and ask for a debt exclusion for the entire 1.4, because carrying the 880 within the operational budget is very high. So we would prefer not to do that. So ideally, it should be a debt exclusion. If it passes in May, that's excellent. Essentially, the funding source changes for the borrowing and it becomes a debt exclusion, and then the impact is negated to the operating budget, which is preferable. If it doesn't pass in May, then we would have to find a way within the budget to carry the 8.8, which essentially we talked about, if it's 11 years, is $80,000. It's possible, it's not preferable, but in order to get this project awarded next week, to get it going, to lock in this contract without the costs continuing to escalate, we have to approve at least the 8.8 next week in order to move forward.
So what is the delta between what was approved at town meeting at the annual a couple of years ago and now? What's the additional that you would need approved?
Total or minimum? So
Total additional
So-
over what was already approved?
So we have 5 million, the total bid is 6.4. The minimum we need to have approved is 5.88 next week in order to award the bid. Now, you could certainly, Don was listing the different types of alternates, you could choose not to include those in the future debt exclusion, but with this number this high at the 880, we have to ask for debt exclusion and see if it passes. I mean, that's a large amount of money to be asking to take out of the operational budget. And then if it doesn't pass in May, then we can consider other options. But right now, I mean, in order to get this project going, this is the way. And again, if this bid hadn't been substantially lower, we'd be talking about a number that's closer to $2 million right now. So another thing to consider, we don't want to lose this bid by not moving forward now, because in addition to just escalating costs, if you can imagine if we were to lose this low bidder and we had to go with one of the others and we're doing this 7 months from now, the price is only going to be higher.
And if we didn't have this particular low bidder, all the other bids are 600 to $1 million more right now.
Yeah.
So add that to the 800,000
Right,
if we were to lose it.
2 million. Yeah. So, thoughts? Ultimately, it's the board that has to go to the floor and.
I mean, I was able to sit through last night's meeting and think through it, and I mean, it's clear to me that we really have to take this step, so. I mean, I don't have any questions right at the moment.
This all along, we've been talking about this police station and the importance of this police station, and I've made a lot of public statements about the importance of this police station. We have kicked the can down the road for a number of years. We've had the DPH cite us many times on deficiencies over there. We pay overtime for prisoners to go to other communities. You know, we're at risk in many different ways over there, and we have to move forward with this project, in my opinion. And I still stand by my original statements on that. I also said that I'm not a proponent of utilizing operational expenses. I never have been a proponent of that. I understand that in order to award the contract, that, you know, this is a strategy to do that and get moving on it. And I would say with the caveat that, you know, we put it in front of the taxpayers for the, you know, for a debt exclusion in May. I think that's important. I also said, and I'll say again, we can't control market creep. And when we started talking about this project 2 years ago, we estimated it much lower cost, and this estimate has been adjusted many times throughout the building committee meetings and dealing with the architects and the estimators. That's beyond our control. The market is out of control right now when it comes to building and construction. We're lucky that we had this, this number come in at what it did, so I'm happy about that. So I'd say for that reason, I'm in support of the strategy. I would be disappointed if the community didn't support it, because with us saying yes, or the community saying yes, at our STM, to take it out of the operational budget until May, you know, we're at risk if it doesn't pass in May, that we're gonna be on the hook for 80 grand a year up for at least 10 years or 11 years. I mean, I don't see it as being a huge shortfall. We can make up the 80K. We can. It's not the right way to do it, though. So if we have to, we can do that. But I would really encourage anybody listening tonight to support this project going forward. And also to thank the Police Station Building Committee. You guys have worked tirelessly on this for at least a couple of years now, and it hasn't been easy, so thank you very much on that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that the building committee and the architects and the OPM have worked hard to find a design that was the most cost efficient for the needs of the community. And you went through what, how many, up to letter J?
11.
Yeah, so, I mean, there was extensive work done trying to minimize the cost, and we got to a point where we said, we just have to go out to bid, and we're gonna have to deal with the number we get, so here we are.
So, Mr. Chairman, the idea is to go to the special town meeting next week and ask the voters to approve, to give the Board of Selectmen the ability to spend the additional amount between what was originally appropriated and now, and that gets the project going, and then we still have to make the debt exclusion request both at the annual as a town meeting mechanism and then a vote as well, right? So that would be on the ballot, the May ballot,
Correct.
and that would be a cost efficiency because we wouldn't have to have a separate election. We could just
Right.
put it on the regular ballot.
Correct.
And we have time between now and then to figure out what we want to ask the voters for. As Kim said, we're really only going to award now the base plus the Sally Port.
Right.
If we
Which has
want-
already been approved 2 years ago.
Well, 2 years ago, we approved
Funding for
the
all.
entire
That's what I meant.
project.
All four.
So,
Right.
so to do the base on this proposal, it's the base plus the Sally Port is, we're gonna need 880,000 authorized next week.
Yeah, there's a difference between total project cost and construction cost. That's where the 800 comes in.
And I don't want anybody to think we're adding stuff either. This was a
Right.
cost-saving measure during the past 2 years to try to cut down the cost. So things that we thought maybe we could do later on our own. The Sally Port's one that, where the bid came in, if we do it later on our own, it's gonna cost us more. more, but the other ones maybe we can save, and we have till May to figure out, maybe we can do those on our own and save some money there. We're still working at saving money.
Right.
Again, like this chairman said, we came to a point where the creep just kept going, and as we're doing each version, we're cutting it down and realizing the costs are going up. So we'd be down too small, and it'd be even more if we kept going.
Well, just to kind of give you folks an idea of how much it creeped, I sat in a meeting where we were going through the estimates. Normal electrical costs are around $20 a square foot. They were at $112 a square foot for electrical costs alone. That's how much it increased over the 2 years. That number is staggering. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Lack of labor, yep.
I mean, that number is staggering.
And that was all the mechanicals.
I can't believe they're coming in that high.
So,
Why can't we use, so if CPA was giving us money to do the old fire station and all the site work, and part of our cost increase was you can't build on top of that soil because it's not stable, and the cost of doing the work at the old fire station has gone up, why can't we get more CPA money to help offset that? 800,000 and 1.4.
Well, actually, we've talked about that, and I also spoke to Kim about that. Clearly, the old fire station is a percentage of the project. If the costs have increased and CPA allows that, I am certainly in favor of tapping into more of those CPA funds. I think that exercise should happen, and we should find out what that delta is, and I definitely think, in my opinion, I think that's a good resource.
Because even if we could get, say we got 200,000, give or take a little bit out of that, that takes a big chunk out of the 800,000. And really, at the end of the day, we should be doing the 1.4 and do everything soup to nuts and be done. We've been dancing around this project for 10 years, and it needs to get done. And just like we're seeing now, all the costs go up, so if we wait the what is it, 600,000 we saved from doing base plus the first alternate to doing it all, that's not gonna get any cheaper. It's only gonna go up every year. So 5 years from now, we save a few bucks now just to spend more down the road.
Yeah. So correct me if I'm wrong, I think I heard Kim say that what we would do is in the spring, when we have our annual, we'd go after a full debt exclusion, correct, to finish the entire project with the alternates, correct?
And Don has already done the analysis of potentially the percentage of additional CPA that could be part of that debt exclusion. So it's essentially, yes, it's like taking additional funds off of the borrowing, but really, CPA, we just have to be careful. In order to afford the project in the way that we designed it, over the 20 years, we had our financial advisors stagger the payments in different ways based upon when other projects were dropping off and when we could take more or less CPA. What I'm trying to say is, we can't take CPA funds if they don't exist. We only bring in a limited amount to the community, but obviously, it's ideal if there are additional funds that we can use, and they certainly qualify for the project, and they would help pay for the future debt exclusion, we would do that.
Yeah, so what I did, actually, I can make copies of it if you want. I did an analysis to figure out what percentage of the entire cost of the project would be CPA eligible. So when we went out to the voters in May of 17, the premise that we used the 1.5 million was any renovation of the existing fire station and any site work, because it's in the historical district, qualified, but anything with the new addition or new construction did not. So if you use that assumption, and you use the cost estimate that we used to do this analysis, the renovation plus site work is around 40% of the cost of the construction. So if you, again, take the base bid here, which is $4.697 million, and you wanted, and plus the soft costs, because those we can use the same appropriation, because the percentage of the architect's time, percentage of the OPM's time, you can use the same rationale. So the $908,000 for the soft cost takes us to $5.6 million. 40% of that is $2.2 million. So technically, we've allocated or said we had 1.5 eligible CPA. There's a potential 700,000 additional eligible, CPA eligible costs if we wanted to pursue that between now and May. I'm actually going to the CPC meeting next Monday night just to talk about this with them. But again, we have time between now and May. I think the short term is, how do we award now? Because, as Kim said, if we don't grab this one GC now, we're never going to be able to do this project for this, so.
I'd like to put a little comfort factor in there. This GC is much lower, but it fits into their schedule. They've got they've got a super and a PM that aren't going to have a home come December. I did call them and make sure they're comfortable with the number. They reviewed it with their estimating team and called back and said yes. And then David and Kim took a field trip to their latest project.
Go ahead.
And they seem very happy with it.
It was a beautiful
Do either one of
facility.
you want to talk about it?
Check references. So.
I certainly feel a lot better today after having walked the site and speaking to a number of people on the site. The project itself, it looks very similar to what we're designing here. I mean, I saw no issues at all. In fact, everyone there spoke very positively about their experience and the timetable. The only delays they've had on the project were because of weather back when they started. I mean, they look like they're going to wrap up the project within a year. I mean, everything we saw looked like what we want, and everything we heard from different sources, not just that one company, was very positive when we were there. So if the end results turned out to be what we saw today, I think we'd be very happy with it.
Clerk of the Works from the OPM said that one of the best companies he's worked with, he'd worked with them. Obviously, again, he said he was a pleasure to work with. They did most of the work, made his job a little bit easier, and everything was just done right, so he didn't do a whole lot. So, and there weren't one change order, I think, and nothing really set him back. And the one thing he said, he didn't give me the exact amount, but they are under budget also.
So I just had a question on the CPA money, and so you're saying 700,000 may be eligible?
Yeah, when we first put out the project and we talked about funding, of the 5 million, we said 1.5 of that was CPA eligible. Now with the cost increase and then now the 6 point whatever, we believe that if you use the same assumption that the historic district for the site work and the renovation of the existing building, which is historic, allows us around 2.2 million. I'll send you the analysis so you'll have that. It's just, again, but the financing is very different. We're using CPA to pay down the bond, so it's not like you have to explain that, Kim.
So I assume the 700,000 in CPA isn't just sitting somewhere that we could pull?
No, I mean, essentially, you're borrowing against future CPA. And so, I mean, even if it's eligible, this is about timing and making sure it works with what we've already planned to do, and then also whether it even exists enough to do. I mean, I think, granted, if the share of it, of the 1.4 is, well, it shouldn't be 7, but I mean, if it's $300,000, $400,000, that's maybe $10,000, $15,000 more over 20,000 years. That seems doable, as long as it's eligible. I mean, I think it's fair to say the 5 million was an estimate that we started with. The actual is 6.4, so you would anticipate that CPA's share would go up based upon actuals rather than estimates. So we just would have to look to be sure, but we'll have the time between next week and May to figure all that out and find out. And I mean, ultimately, we have to borrow it. Where it gets paid from is, that's essentially what we're doing. Are we paying it from, so.
Operational CPA
Right.
or debt exclusion.
Right.
Okay. I mean,
Listen, you know where my position is on this. I've explained it earlier, so I commend you guys. You worked hard. I'm happy with the way the bid came in. Got to build a police station. We have to do it. I can't say it any other way.
right.
We have to. And now's the time to do it. It's unfortunate the market did what it did, But I'm seeing it in my own projects. Even my own projects are really elevated right now, so just get it done.
Okay, anything else? No? All right. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Step down second, all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.